Dr. E.N.G. Marek Gruszecki. Philosophy of Being. Krakow, 2025. My 85th anniversary. Philosophical essay Does God Exist? Krakow, the 19th of April 2025.
The End of Life, Part 1. What is life? Life is more than a monotonous activity, doing the same things every day. Life is a great adventure, an adventure here and now, right now. The concept of the value of life is as individual as the number of individuals throughout our society. Each of us should, indeed must, give ourselves this value, appreciating ourselves and giving thanks for our here and now, for the opportunity to experience what many have missed. Accompanying a loved one in their dying is as important as being present at any significant life event. Our presence with those who are passing away, even when it is aggravating to us, is important to them and worth the effort. If the dying person is a believer, preparing for a final confession can help to sort out thoughts and bring solace. It is not worth leaving difficult and important conversations for later. As time goes by, contact with a sick patient can become increasingly difficult. Some people, especially old people, not only anticipate their death, but also treat it quite naturally, as a natural stage of life. Such people give the impression that life in this world is already too cramped for them. We, who have to part with our dying loved ones, usually find it difficult to accept this separation. Already by the ancient philosophers, the call was taken up to treat life as a preparation for death, as an exercise in dying. The exercise in death is to practice already the separation of the soul from body by freeing the soul from the preoccupation with bodily things. Death has a very important meaning because it teaches us life wisdom, life realism, puts our hierarchy of values in order, and helps us to find the purpose and meaning of life. It is therefore necessary to discover the purpose and meaning of death throughout life. Those who perceive meaning in death are able to part much more easily with what is passing. The question of a meaning of death, however, finds its fullest answer only in the perspective of the death and resurrection of Jesus. The death experienced by the believer opens a way to God the Father, and therefore always is a dimension of hope and love. Death is the end of the time of grace and mercy that God offers man to fulfill his earthly life. At the moment of our death, we will come to know the true God. We will come to know absolute, unconditional love, and in the face of this love we will see our own selfishness. After the death of the body, the soul is always the soul of a concrete human being. End of Life, Part 2. A near-death experience is a sensory experience experienced by a person who has almost died. The person goes through the first stage of dying and falls into a state of clinical death. He has a sensation of moving through a tunnel. He becomes aware that he is outside his body, but after a while he notices that he is a bodily form of a completely different nature. How important the moment of death is in life. But does today's man think about death and judgment? Sunk in prosperity, busy from morning to evening, he has no time to think about the ultimate things. But can he escape them? With every passing day, the moment of death and judgment draws nearer. Life is short and fragile. For how many die in accidents? How many die of illness at a young age? How many die in war? Immediately after death, therefore, every man in his immortal soul stands in judgment to give an account of his life. This judgment will take place before our guardian angel, who will remind us of our good deeds, and the devil, who will reveal our sins. Then God will pronounce judgment for eternity. And from this judgment there is no appeal. There is no higher authority than God. This judgment takes place at the moment of death and at the place where the soul separates from the body. We will be interceded for by all those whom we have helped to salvation. Let us therefore seek intercessors for this hour. Let us often think of this hour of death and judgment so that we may properly prepare for it. At the evening of our life we shall be judged for love. Obviously this is about love for God and the love for neighbor that flows from it. Detailed judgment is looking at the whole of life in the light of love. It is good to pray for a good death for ourselves, so that we can die prepared, reconciled with people and God, with love in our hearts. The multiple apparitions of the dead have shown us to some extent what happens to the soul when it leaves the body. When the human soul starts to head upwards to the heavenly homeland, the demons try to stop it. According to Orthodox theologians, getting to heaven after death is conditional on first breaking through the hostile territory of the air, which becomes impossible to do without the help of God's angels. In these places, the soul encounters demons who try to drag the soul down to hell with their accusations. The soul passes through legions of evil spirits, the so-called mythias, who clutter its path and accuse it of various sins to which they themselves have tempted it. Belief in the mythias is an individual matter for each person. This doctrine was not developed in the Western Church.
Conclusion. But Jesus, overhearing what was being said, said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." Bible, Mark 5 verse 36. It will still be beautiful, despite everything. Just put on comfortable shoes, because you have your whole life to go through. John Paul II. Mathematics in nature.